I think this is a key point because we are always resonating and our nervous system is actually always in function. Like it works in the normal life, and it also works in stressful situations. So in normal life, you breathe in, breathe out, you eat, digest, and requires also command, requires a orchestration of the nervous system for those functions to happen satisfactorily. On the other hand, we have also that we if we get out of our normal stress response and we get overly activated, like say the sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system gets very activated because the situation somehow involves a lot of adaptation and stress, we may regulate that function. The nervous system works like that. You have two branches. One branch is what we call the sympathetic branch. The other one is the parasympathetic branch. But they are two sides of a coin, you know. So they work in reciprocal function, which means if you need to activate, if you need to require action hormones, the parasympathetic, well, one is responsible for exciting, the other one is responsible for relaxing. So as one excites, the other relaxes. And then vice versa, where the one that is relaxing becomes functional, the one that is excited decreases its tonus, decreases its function. But that's a natural reciprocal function of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic branches of the autonomic nervous system. So, first of all, my system personally is always acting like that. Between breathe in, you get more excited, breathe out, you get more relaxed. So, when you breathe in, the sympathetic functions, and then it will shovel adrenaline into the blood. The heart is going to beat a little faster. The lungs are going to open up. So all of that will be taking place. At that time, the parasympathetic side of the autonomics is relaxing, is decreasing its function because we are activating the system. But the minute this is done and you begin to breathe out, it means that the parasympathetic is taking action and the sympathetic, responsible for activation, is decreasing its function. So that combination means that they work together reciprocally. So when I get very excited, and my regulation goes to a peak, I may, with my own perception, decrease that activation. This is what we call the self-regulation. I will breathe out a little slower. I will wait a little bit. I will lower the tone of my voice. I will relax my muscles that were engaged in the activation phase. And I self-regulate. The same way, the other way around. If you're overly relaxed and I say, oh, let me move a little bit. So this means that I go away from a relaxed position. I draw the sympathetic in and I put some energy into my body, stand up, look more strong, and so on. So the reciprocity shows that my system, if I am aware of that reciprocity, I can manage, I can regulate what's happening here. Suppose someone tells you something you don't like, then you get all activated and you get ready to discuss with that person. But then you perceive that, oh my God, I am so excited here. Come on, wait. So you take a deep breath, and you wait a little bit before responding. And then your nervous system helps the body to settle down again. So you self-regulate it not to be so instinctive and so reactive on that situation. Or vice versa. If you need to act out, you might say, okay, let's go, boom. And you draw the sympathetic in out of a self-regulation aspect. But in a relationship, you have your system and you also have the system of the other person. So the same way that my system is up and down and it's doing its waves, the system of the other person is also mobilizing itself and doing its own dance. But when we have two systems, there is a dialogue here. So we have a system that uses mirror neurons, which means that my system will perceive, will sense what's happening in your system. So if you are very excited, my system perceives that you are very excited. If you are very down, my system will also perceive. But not only perceive, but it will also somehow resonate with your system, which means one influences the other. It's like a mirror function. And this is happening all the time, in human relationships. So if you are able to self-regulate, you can help the regulation of your client, you can help the regulation of your partner, you can help the regulation of your kids if you regulate yourself. So self-regulation helps co-regulation through reciprocity. We have a normal function in our nervous system which mirrors the functions of the other. And that's called reciprocity resonance. So that's why it's very important, because if you are present and aware into your own activity of your nervous system, you can also be aware of the activity of the nervous system of the other person, and you can be aware of the influence of your nervous system in the system of your colleague or the person you're relating to, which is the co-regulation. So in October, you're all most welcome if you want to join us into this adventure. Uh, it's a beautiful training that lasts, 3 years, 2 modules a year, but in which every module, you deepen the material and you get to understand this methodology much better.